Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cop Table podcast live tonight on LFC Day Trippers in association with the @Liverpool Online Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages. Tonight we are going to be previewing the Burnley versus Liverpool game this coming weekend at Turf Moor. Joining me once again, we have Jay Riley. You can catch Jay on the Radio City Fan Friday talk show and regular with us on the Cop Table. So thanks again, Jay. How are you?
Hi, mate. Yeah, not too bad. Another good win at the weekend, top of the table, and looking forward to this game now at the weekend.
Yes, which we'll be talking about very shortly. Also joining me tonight, we haven't got a Burnley guest with us. Natalie was unavailable, our usual guest there, should I say. So joining me is Gav Doyle from the LFC Day Trippers Fatback 4 Daily podcast. Thanks for coming on, Gav. How are you?
Good. Great to be a guest on something for once. I'm sick of listening to myself at this stage.
Yeah, so the tables have turned slightly tonight.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to start off with, I know it's we did speak a little bit about it last night on the Day Trippers, didn't we, Gav? Just a little bit about the Bobby Duncan story that's been in the headlines today, Jay. Seems to be a lot of this has been made of it from his agent's point of view. Just give us your take on the whole episode that's played out today, please, Jay.
I think it's quite embarrassing. I think he's been poorly advised. And to tell you the truth, I never thought he was ever going to make it at Liverpool anyway. So I just think it's a non-story. I think it's daft. I mean, if he thinks he's going to move on to bigger things, then, fair play. But for me, I just think it's stupid. He's been badly advised and he just needs to get his head down. And the only worrying aspect of it is it's sort of like dragging the club's name through the mud, isn't it? By, shouting mental health and all that. I mean, I know that's a very serious subject, but, what's his agent playing at? Like introducing that type of terminology and that word, because, that's quite serious, isn't it? And, the problem is the knock-on effect of that is the lad's career could suffer massively because of, them key words, really, mental health. It's not good at all. And it's, as I say, bad publicity for the club, really, as well. And it's absolutely nonsense because, he's a young kid. Is he on £7,000 a week, something like that? If he can't live on that type of wage, then, what is going on in football? I mean, to me, whenever I've watched him, he looks okay, quite raw, lacks a bit of pace. Don't think he was ever going to make it at Liverpool. Quite a few players ahead of him in the pecking order. And I just don't really know what he's trying to achieve by basically allowing his agent to run with this. And, as I say, the key terminology of it all, it leaves himself open now for, clubs are going to be looking at it thinking, is it really wise to try and take this lad? Because, he might have a little bit of raw ability, but he seems to have a bit of a bad attitude and he's coming across as a little bit of a troublemaker now. And maybe the lad isn't like that. I don't know him from Adam, but it doesn't bode well for the lad, does it? Because it does look like he could be a bit of a trouble causer. And, the way I see it now, the sooner we get the lad out the club, the better.
Yeah, it's pretty much what myself and Gav were speaking about last night, Jay, on the Trippers podcast, when we didn't know the full story at the time, and it just seems now that he's been very badly advised, and there's been all sorts of arguments going on Twitter from Jamie Carragher and other people. So we're going to park that one up for the time being, because I know Gav's going to continue with that story on his Fatback 4 Daily podcast after our show. So going to talk a little bit about last weekend's game, starting off with you, Gav. Arsenal 3-1 victory. Give us your thoughts on the game as a whole, the performance, and how you thought the game went, please.
You know what? I've watched this game back twice, and I watched it live and watched it back once after that. And I'm going to be honest with you. The likes of Sky and other media outlets talked up Arsenal a lot before the game, during the game, even after the game. They're 3-1 down, and Gary Neville is saying it's a positive result for Arsenal, all things being considered. Arsenal are meant to be a big club, and they're 3-1 down, and they weren't really in the game, bar two mistakes from us that led to one kind of half chance and one clear-cut chance. Overall, I thought Liverpool dominated for the vast majority until they took their foot off the pedal a little bit with about 15 minutes to go. From 45 to 70, I think Liverpool clicked into probably third, maybe fourth gear. But to be honest with you, if Arsenal had scored that consolation as it was, say on 60 rather than 80, I think Liverpool had another gear or two to go up and put them away. We're miles ahead of Arsenal. Anybody that thinks different is and I mean Arsenal fans with this. Anyone that thinks different is deluding themselves. Their midfield was overrun, outrun, outfought, outthought. Their back line were terrified of their front three, and rightly so. And any of the chances they scored one, and they probably had two chances, maybe three, and two of those came from mistakes from us. Overall, the Liverpool performance, I give it about a 7 out of 10. As I said, I think we have gears to go up, and I think we will go up the gears as the season progresses. I'd like to see us use the squad a little bit more after the international break, but just on Saturday alone, good win, good 3 points, and as routine as you can get against a top 6 side.
Yeah, it was a very good 3 points, wasn't it? So we're going to be moving on to what looks like a tough game away at Burnley this weekend. So, Jay, looking forward to this game. Obviously, Burnley's got a midweek game, haven't they, tonight? I'm not too sure how they're getting on in the League Cup, but just looking forward to the game. How do you see Jurgen Klopp approaching this in terms of player rotation? Do you see him sort of mixing it up slightly from the weekend, or do you see with an international break coming up, does he go full strength again? How do you think he's going to play this one, please, Jay?
Well, I think it'd be an absolute joke if he mixed it up too much, because there's no reason whatsoever to play a weakened team from the side that played against Arsenal, because we've had 7 days break. So, straight after this, we've got an international break. So it's massively important that Liverpool try and register the 3 points against Burnley. I think, obviously Burnley are a very difficult side to play against. We've seen it last season, really, where they had a poor start, but I put that down to the Europa League campaign. It started so early on for them, and it doesn't half affect teams, and they just never got going. But then when you got to the turn of the year in 2019, their form's been very good, to be honest with you, and they've got a real powerhouse up front in Ashley Barnes, and people probably do him a little bit of a disservice, really, and say he's a bit of a yard dog up front. But for me, I think he's a good centre forward. He scores all types of goals, and he's going to cause us some problems at the weekend, in my opinion. He's certainly one to watch out for. And but going back to the Liverpool team, I mean, absolutely no reason whatsoever why the team should be changed for me. I'm pretty sure he'll go with the same back line. Joel Matip, really, there's always the dilemma of who do you go with to partner Virgil van Dijk. Is it going to be Joel Matip? Is it going to be Joe Gomez? But for me, Joel Matip's done quite well at the start of the season, got his goal against Arsenal on Saturday, and Joe Gomez, when he's had games against Norwich and against Chelsea in the Super Cup, has looked a little bit ropey, to be honest. So there's no reason why Joel Matip shouldn't continue his partnership with Virgil van Dijk. The midfield, I mean, the front three speaks for itself, doesn't it? With Firmino, Salah and Mane. It's always the midfield area, though, as well, that you look at. But I've got to, you've got to look at it and say Fabinho was absolutely outstanding against Arsenal. He just ran the show in the middle of the park for me, and he should get the nod. Jordan Henderson's been playing quite well in his new role in midfield as well, so there's no reason why he shouldn't start the game. The dilemma then is, will it be, Gini Wijnaldum had a good game against Arsenal, but in the away game, sometimes he tends to go missing a little bit. So whether or not he might miss out, and Milner could come into the side, because what you've got to look at is against Burnley, it's going to be very combative, isn't it, in the middle of the park, and they are going to bombard us as well with, like obviously aerial balls into the box. They're clearly going to try and test Adrian, and that does concern me a little bit, to tell you the truth, because if you look back to last season's game against Burnley at Turf Moor, Joe Gomez got an injury, didn't he, playing out of position at right back, and please God, let's hope we don't see that on Saturday. Trent Alexander-Arnold's got to play right back, obviously Robertson at left back. But what I am a bit concerned about is, if you look back to that game in December against Burnley, I think the game was finally poised at 1-1. And Alisson made an unbelievably world-class save, basically in the top corner. And from the resultant counter-attack, Liverpool went down the other end and went 2-1 up. Now, if a similar scenario happens, you just don't see Adrian. He's just nowhere near as good as Alisson. I mean, we've already seen it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think he's an adequate goalkeeper. He's a decent number 2. But the worry I've got going into this game is they're going to bombard Liverpool and going to try and target him. And he's nowhere near to the levels of Alisson. And the worry is already so far in his Liverpool career, there's been a couple of little incidents where it just unsettles the back line. I mean, the one that he gifted to Southampton, Danny Ings scored. Even you can look to the one against Arsenal as well, where he came off his line. It was a poor clearance, really. Aubameyang should really have scored. We were fortunate, really, it just went the other side of the post. But that's what I'm saying. He creates that little bit of uncertainty, and that's not me having a dig at the lad, because we all know Alisson's the top class goalie. He's the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, one of the world's best. So it's always going to be a little bit of a come down with your number 2s between the sticks. But it's not just about that. It's more about the fact that he's not really had that much time to work with the defenders in front of him. So that's an issue as well. And when you're coming up against a side like Burnley, especially at Turf Moor, I am expecting a little bit of bombardment from them. So I do expect it to be a tough game at the weekend on Saturday against Burnley. I really do.
Brilliant. Cheers, Jay. Yeah, so over to you then, Gav. Just a couple of questions into the chat room. Mick was sort of alluding to a couple of changes that he thinks that might happen. He thinks that Trent might get a rest ahead of the international break, and Gomez will come in. And he also thinks that Gini Wijnaldum may come in for James Milner, should come in for Gini Wijnaldum. How do you see Klopp playing this one, Gav? Do you see him making a couple of changes in light of this international break that's coming up? Obviously, we think that Trent will be going with England if they're playing. Wijnaldum will be going away with Holland. So the lads who are likely to be playing on that international break, do you see Klopp resting them with that in hindsight?
Well, I think I've said it for a while. I think Liverpool should start making up injuries for their players when it comes to international duty. Plenty of other teams get away with it, and we seem to be a little bit too kind when it comes to internationals. But I agree with Jay. I think mixing it up too much is you're looking for trouble. Now, don't get me wrong. I think our squad is fantastic. I think if we were to change 2 or 3, I'd still be very confident with Liverpool going to Burnley and Turf Moor on Saturday evening and winning the game. But we have 2 weeks off after this. You have to forget international football. It's none of your business, apart from making sure your players don't come back injured, which we haven't got a great record with. They seem to come back with niggles. But for me, I know where Kev O'Sullivan's coming from, maybe change 1 or 2. But if you look at the side that went out there against Arsenal on Saturday evening, they must be absolutely buzzing, every single one of them, going out and putting on a performance like that. Although I did say we were probably at 75-80%, but to still go out and do that against an Arsenal side, I don't see, I'll put it to this way: if this was after the international break and everybody, or 2 games after the international break and everybody came back fit, I think he'd go with what he went with on Saturday. Burnley is historically a tough place to go. As Jay's pointed out there, we went 1-0 down there last season. Milner got us back in the game. Alisson makes that save, and I think at 2-1, and we wouldn't make it 3-1 with Shaqiri and settles the game. But it's a historically it's a difficult place to go to. It's 5:30 on a Saturday. They've started the season quite well. I think they beat Southampton on the opening day. They were unlucky against Arsenal. They put in a good shift against Arsenal, and I think they were done with a 97-minute penalty against Wolves away from home that denied them all 3 points. If you look at the team they put out tonight in the Carabao Cup, I think they're losing about 3-1 to Sunderland the last time I checked. But I don't think a lot of them players will play on Saturday. So they've rested a lot and looking to go full strength against us. And I think we should be putting out the strongest possible team. Having said that, I'd see where this show for Milner and maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain comes from. I wouldn't put Gomez right back. I don't agree with it. I never agree with it. So if there was to be a change, I think there might be one in midfield, and it would be Milner or Oxlade-Chamberlain for Wijnaldum or Henderson. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I wouldn't be touching the front 3 or the back 4. The only places where I'd be making changes as well would possibly be the midfield. But we shall see how that goes on Saturday. But yeah, I agree what you were saying about historically going to Burnley as well. It's been a tough place previously, and I remember the game when I think we had about 80% possession and we went down to a 2-0 defeat. So it says it all. When we can dominate games there and get a defeat, we're going to have to be 100% concentrated and effort to come away with the 3 points. So just moving on to another subject that's come up recently in the press is the situation with Jurgen Klopp and his contract. I'd like to get your thoughts on it first, Jay. There's been a few murmurings, hasn't there, about people asking him, I think it's the kick of the German press, is it, or Bild, one of them outlets over in Germany. I've asked him a couple of times now about his future at Liverpool, and he seems to have said a couple of times that once this contract's up, he's gonna weigh up the situation, and he could take a year or two out before deciding his next move. If he does see his contract, that'd be another 3 seasons from now, wouldn't? Well, including this season, 3 seasons. So, what's your thoughts on the reports coming from Germany, Jay? And what do you think? Do you see him staying for another couple of years on top of what he's already got?
I just find it all very baffling because, Jose Mourinho, for an example, as a manager, he always has 3-year stints at football clubs. So this is like the equivalent of when Mourinho first took over at Man United and had played 3 or 4 games into the new season as manager of United. An article coming out and reports coming out saying, Jose Mourinho is going to go in 3 years' time when he's had his 3rd year at United, he's going to be off. Why is it even a story? We've got 3 years left of this manager. He's been at the club 4 years. He's got another 3 years left. Let's just enjoy the 3 years, and in that time, he could sign a new contract in January. He could sign a new contract at the end of this season. He could sign a new contract at the start of the following season. He could sign a new contract when he's got a year left. I don't get it. To me, it's just mischief making and just trying to unsettle us. I mean, there's 2 sides to it, though. It makes you wonder why it's got out there in the media and why this is being made a big deal of. Because for me, as an outsider looking in, I'm thinking it's just mischief making, just trying to unsettle things. Surely to God, I mean, why is it even a story? He's got 3 years left on his contract. If he had 18 months left, I'd start worrying a little bit and I'd start thinking it was a serious issue. The man's got 3 full seasons left at Liverpool Football Club. Let's just enjoy the ride because it's been great so far. Capped it off last season with winning the European Cup. We know this season we're going to be there for the big trophies again. We all want to win the Premier League. We nearly won it last year, but for a freak Manchester City side. Hopefully this season is our year. But if it isn't to be, I'm sure we'll be there or thereabouts for the European Cup as well. So, let's just enjoy it. I just think it's farcical, really, that it's even a story, and I genuinely do think it's just mischief making. Jurgen Klopp is as happy as can be at Liverpool at this moment in time, and if he decides in 3 years' time, he'll have given us 7 years of his life, and if he decides then he wants to have a sabbatical and he wants to have a year out, then fine, then so be it. You know what I mean? He might want to go back to his homeland and manage his country. Maybe he might want to manage Germany. Might he? In a few years' time, who knows? But I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. To me, it's a non-story, and just let's enjoy the next 3 years of Jurgen Klopp, and what will be, and hopefully he'll add a few more big trophies to the trophy cabinet for Liverpool. And if he does go in 3 years' time, then so be it. And it'll be a sad day, but you move on, don't you? I just think when there's 3 years left, it's ridiculous, really. Just let's enjoy the ride.
Excellent stuff. Cheers, Jay. So yeah, Gav, is that something that you go along the lines with there, what Jay's saying? Just to get a couple of points from the chat room, Kev O'Sullivan says he seems to think it's the German FA who will be leaking this information as they want him to be their manager in the future. Is that something that you'd agree with as well, Gav?
Well, Jurgen Klopp arrives at Liverpool in 2015 and he signs, I'm going to say, a 5-year deal with Liverpool. I could be wrong, it could have been 4, but I think he's added 1 extension to that since, if I'm right, and that brings him to 2022. a couple of weeks back there was rumour, or probably a little bit over that, there was rumour that Jurgen Klopp had agreed a deal with Liverpool to extend his contract beyond 2022. They were talking maybe 2, possibly a 3-year extension. That didn't come to fruition. How true the rumour was that he was very close to signing or had it been agreed, we don't know. So this, as Jay said, it seems to be a bit scaremongering, mischief making. You know, a manager is supposedly signing an extension and a month later it hasn't been signed. Well, he must want to leave in 3 years' time. I agree with Jay. If he goes in 3 years' time, and I think he can walk away in 3 years' time as, you know, adored by the Liverpool fan base, and rightly so. If he walked away tomorrow, he would be adored by the Liverpool fan base, and rightly so. I think if he added the European Cup and a league title in the next 3 seasons, nobody would begrudge him walking away. 7 years seems to be his number, but he has said in the past that yes, he done 7 at Mainz, yes, he done 7 at Dortmund, but Liverpool is a club that he could see himself going beyond the 7 years for, because it just really feels like home to him. It feels like the club that was made for him, the city, the fans, the players he gets to work with, the staff he gets to work with, you know, the whole atmosphere around the club itself. So I agree with Jay. There's 3 years to go on this current deal. We don't know whether he'll sign another one. We don't know whether in a year's time he decides he's had enough and he leaves. We really don't know, and it's not our place to know. Let's be honest. It's a man's personal feelings and opinion and decision in life. So look, when it gets to January 2021 and he has 18 months left, then I'll start to wonder what's really going on. But until then, I'm just going to go and enjoy the ride for what it is, because when he came in, we had a manager that was all over the place, and he's come in, he's steadied the ship, and he's made us into, from my opinion, the best team in Europe. We're absolutely financially brilliant at what we do. We're successful on the pitch, and I think that's going to grow. So I'd leave the Jurgen Klopp stuff aside, and I wouldn't come back near it for about 14, 15 months.
Okay, spot on. Cheers, Gav. Okay, just looking forward once again then to the Burnley game. The Arsenal, the tactics in that game was much different, I thought, to the previous 2 Premier League games, where we was pressing high once again. It seemed that we played this sort of 2 at the back, 5 in midfield, and then the front 3 ahead of them. So obviously going into an away game, it's a different type of fixture. So tactical wise, Jay, how do you see Jurgen Klopp lining up with his formation, and do you still see the high pressing game, or do you think he's going to just sit back a little bit in this one and try and hit them on the break? What's your thoughts on the tactical approach from Klopp this weekend, please?
Well, I don't think we're going to sit back against Burnley, whether it's at Anfield or Turf Moor, do you? Because they're not that type of team, are they? If anything, Liverpool are going to have a lot of possession. And you'd even said yourself before, when Liverpool went there and lost 2-0, when we had 81% possession or something, whatever it was. So it's Burnley the ones that are going to be worrying about Liverpool more. So what Burnley will try and do to Liverpool is try and bombard us, really, and try and look to the channels to, you know, teams against Liverpool always tend to try and target Trent Alexander-Arnold, but you know what Sean Dyche won't do is what Unai Emery done at Anfield last weekend, because what he was doing, playing a diamond formation against Liverpool's fullbacks, was just absolute suicide. And Liverpool, just second half in particular, I can't believe Liverpool never put 5 or 6 past Arsenal, because some of the football in the first half, we were by far the better team. But Arsenal did have a couple of little opportunities on the break. But in the second half, Liverpool were just totally dominant. Come out the blocks quick, got 2 goals. Salah scored a penalty, then scored an absolute wonder goal. And I was just left a little bit disappointed, because we should have added to the scoreline. We should have put another couple past them at least. But I thought it was suicide by Emery. Now, Sean Dyche will certainly not play anywhere near to them levels, because he's not soft, you know what I mean? He knows the time of day. They're going to be very well organised. They're also going to try and nullify Liverpool's threats from wide areas. But I expect Liverpool, it's, as you say, it's an away game now, so it's slightly different to a game at Anfield where, yeah, we still will have the lion's share of possession, but I don't think he can play the same type of tactics that he played against Arsenal. The onus will be a little bit more on Liverpool to sort of like force the issue, because, you know, I expect Burnley to sit deep really, and like Liverpool have to break them down. But, you know, I do think, you know, it's like anything else, isn't it? Liverpool are playing probably a team that's going to finish in the bottom half this season. And, you know, it's not going to be easy, because we've just spoken about before, it's notoriously a difficult place to go, Turf Moor, and Liverpool have come unstuck there in the past. But, you know, last season we did get a good victory there. And I just think, you know, Liverpool should go there with confidence after the victory against Arsenal. But I do expect it to be a different kettle of fish going to Burnley than it is a game against Arsenal at home, because you might look at it and say, well, Arsenal are a top 6 side trying to break into the top 4, but they're so open, they're so easy to play against, whereas Burnley is totally different, because they'll make it difficult for Liverpool on Saturday.
Yeah, and just your thoughts on the tactical side of things as well, please, Gav. I know that the lad on the left hand side for Burnley who's played, I think his name's McNeil. He had a very good game at Anfield, didn't he? And like Jay said, they're probably going to look down that left hand side, aren't they, and try and get a little bit of joy from him and getting crosses into the box. So, how do you see Klopp lining this one? Possibly against could be a 4-5-1 from Burnley. It could be one of them where we're having to break them down and be patient. So just give us your thoughts on Jurgen Klopp's tactical approach, please, Gav.
Yeah, I think Burnley will go with something along the lines of a 4-5-1. You'll probably see the back four being very rigid. The full backs definitely keeping an eye on Salah and Mane. Their midfield, you'll probably see, it might even be 4-2-3-1. They might sit too deep to watch for, you know, if it's, say, for argument's sake,
Firmino dropping deep.
Yeah, stuff like that. But as well as that, Liverpool are going to look for Henderson and Wijnaldum to be further ahead of Fabinho to make things kind of, to create things and put a good tempo on Liverpool's play. The wingers, McNeil, I know, yeah, he did have a good game against us at Anfield last season, but I can see he's going to have, the way Liverpool play the majority of the time, himself and the right winger are probably going to be told to literally make sure that the air fullbacks don't get beyond them. They will probably try congest the sides of the pitch where we can hurt them. So it's up to, I think Firmino is going to be massive in this game, because when you do make it congestive in on the left and right hand side, this is where Firmino comes into his own, getting little balls in off the fullbacks, off the likes of Henderson, Wijnaldum, and turning, and then opening up the play. Tactically, Liverpool wise, I think that they'd be quite happy to go, you know, man for man over the pitch and win their own battles and come out on top. You'll see Van Dijk and Matip probably facing up against Ashley Barnes and trying to look after him while the rest of the team go and try win the game. All I can see is a 4-3-3 from us. I think we have to back ourselves to be good enough, and we are good enough to go and win this game. But the things from Burnley, they're going to be high tempo. I don't think they're going to press us high up the pitch, and I don't think we're going to press them either. I don't see us playing a massively high pressing game this weekend. I think, you know, we don't want to make this you know, a stretched out pitch where they're going to be able to hit long balls all the time. We're going to want to cover our centre halves if they are going up against long balls. So our midfielders will have to be close to them. I think we just have to back ourselves that when we have the ball to do enough with it, and when we don't, to be solid enough. And I think, to be fair, we have that in abundance in both areas. So 4-3-3 from Liverpool. I think a 4-5-1 from Burnley. And yeah, just back ourselves to go and win the game.
Good stuff. And yeah, Kev O'Sullivan's making a point that there could be a change in midfield with Oxlade-Chamberlain to help break them down. Elder Mel says I think he should make a number of changes, and I think our high line will be an advantage in this one. He also goes on to say they won't have the clever little balls and runners in behind. So yeah, thanks for the comments into the chat room there, lads. So just before we go, I'm going to get a score prediction from you two lads going into the game. So Jake, you're first up. Give us your score prediction and your reasons then, please.
Well, I mean, it'd be lovely if Liverpool could get another 3 points, because after this it's an international break and 4 wins out of 4 would be great, wouldn't it? Going into that little break before we play Newcastle, I think it is after that, isn't it? But I can't get it out of my head from what happened last season when Alisson was very important in this game. He made a fantastic save. I can't remember whether it was 1-1 at that stage and we went 2-1 up on the counter-attack after the save, or it was already 2-1 to Liverpool.
It was 2-1 at the time, Jay.
Was it 2-1 at the time? Yeah. It was a vital save anyway. It was genuine world class. It was an unbelievable save, and I don't think many other keepers would have been able to make that save, to tell you the truth. Certainly not Adrian. And it does concern me a little bit this weekend because, yeah, of course, I expect Liverpool to control large parts of the game. I expect Liverpool to create a few chances, and I'm sure we'll score a goal or two. But I am concerned that they will try and bombard Liverpool a little bit and get a bit of joy. And it's not the easiest of places to go to. And it's easy for us as fans to just sit here and just say, yeah, we'll win every single game between now and May. But it doesn't quite happen like that, does it? And every now and then, you end up dropping a point here and there, or you even lose a couple of games. We only lost one last season, but there's been times when Liverpool have lost 6 or 7 in seasons gone by. So I think this is a potential banana skin for Liverpool. I really do. If you look at Burnley's form so far this season, very unfortunate last week. They could have had another 3 points there against Wolves, and that's a tough place to go, Wolves. And a 97th minute penalty, which was quite debatable as well. They gave a very good account of themselves at the Emirates against Arsenal. In my opinion, I don't think they deserve to lose that game, but they lost 2-1 on the day and very unlucky. And on the opening day of the season, they beat Southampton 3-0, a team that Liverpool have also played this season, and we won 2-1 against them, which basically, I suppose, it did flatter Southampton because of the mistake by Adrian, but Liverpool were in cruise control in large parts of that second half. But there's the yardstick. They beat them 3-0, Liverpool beat them 2-1, albeit we were away from home. I just think it's going to be a tough game, and Adrian doesn't convince me at all yet, and I just think he might unsettle the back line a little bit too much for my liking, and this is a tough place to go. So I'm going to surprise a few people here, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, very surprised myself there, Jay. It's not often that you predict a draw on the cop table, so we'll mark that down and we'll see how that one goes at the weekend. So, Gav, give us your thoughts on a score prediction and your reasons for them, please.
I think Jay is a disgrace to start. No, I know where he's coming from. It's a difficult place to go. 5:30 on a Saturday. As much as we go on about Anfield at 5:30 on a Saturday, as the darker evenings kind of come up quickly on us, Turf Moor can rock as well, I suppose, when it comes down to it. I know where he's coming from with the goalkeeper. I think he makes a mistake against Southampton the week before last that leads to a goal. He confuses Van Dijk a little bit on Saturday, and it leads to a chance from Aubameyang. But I'm hoping that, other than that, I think he's done all right. I'm just hoping that those sort of things, one was just a flat-out mistake, one was a lack of communication. But listen, be in no doubt about it, Virgil van Dijk has told him who the boss is after that game, and I don't think you'll see him doing that again. So I'm hoping that, I hope that, these things are ironing themselves out as we go week on week, and it hasn't cost us yet. With regards to a score prediction, I'm going 4-1 to Liverpool. I do feel Burnley will try to get at us. I feel they will score. I don't know whether they would score first, whether they might get one back, or whether it'll be a consolation. I do see us conceding. It'll either be a cracker or a really unfortunate goal. I can't see Burnley opening us up. With regards to us scoring 4, I just think Mane's had a week off and looked good against Arsenal. For a guy that's had so much football over the last year, he's had another week's rest now. Firmino's come back from the Copa America looking 10 times the player he looked when he came back from the World Cup last season. Salah's played right through the summer and just looks an angry man, and I love that. He looks like he knows how good he is now. He looks like he's back to the player we've seen in 17, 18. Our midfield is buzzing. Fabinho is flying. the centre halves, although the goalkeeper change, Matip's being outstanding and Van Dijk is Van Dijk. So I can see Liverpool scoring plenty of goals. So I'm going to go with a 4-1 win, and I'm actually going to go with a Mane hat-trick on as part of that.
4-1 for Gav. Excellent stuff. Yeah, my own thoughts on the game. Like you have both said, it's a very difficult ground to go to. It's the crowd are very close to the pitch. They can generate a real atmosphere there, especially if they go ahead in games, and the crowd can be very lively indeed, and can scare position teams. But I just think that Liverpool these days they're a solid outfit from back to front. Obviously there is a few concerns, like Jay alluded to, over Adrian, and I agree with them totally. There's been one or two occasions where the heart's been in the mouth, and I've thought, what's he doing, type of thing, similar to what Mignolet used to do. And it's a ground where the ball and out to play, he's kicked it when it went behind the line. So it's not an easy place for a goalkeeper to play football. So I just think that going into this game with the international break, we can go 4 out of 4. I just think it's got that another week's training behind them. I think the defence will be a lot more settled again, and you can see how fuming he was that they conceded that goal against Arsenal late on. So I just think they're going to be adamant that they're going to try and get that clean sheet in this game, Adrian's first clean sheet. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Liverpool victory, a goal in each half. By no means an easy victory, but I just think that we'll have a little bit too much quality for them, pretty much all over the pitch. Be a struggle with Barnes. Obviously it's going to be a tough game to Ben Van Dijk, and they're going to have to be switched on from the start. So I just think Liverpool 2-0, and just too strong for the Burnley side who've done well this season. So just before we go, lads, just like to say big thanks to the Day Trippers for putting the podcast out. Also the LFC Online fucking Twitter page, who've been retweeting and putting all our podcasts out on their platform. Also, don't forget to keep up to date with Paul Bentley and his No More Knives campaign. I've seen a tweet today from Paul. He's been in a meeting with the Mayor of Liverpool, Joe Anderson. He seems to have been a very productive meeting to him. So hopefully a few more things moving in the direction of the No More Knives campaign from Paul and Lee Butler there. So big thanks to Gav and big thanks to Jay for joining me on the call tonight, lads.
Cheers, mate.
All the best, lads. Enjoy the game.
Cheers, boys. So that's the Cop Table preview of the Burnley game all done. We will be back after the international break with our Liverpool versus Newcastle preview. Hopefully we'll get John Richardson back on with us once again. He's been a regular with us in the past, so we'll give him a little shout, see if he's available. So thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for all the comments into the chat room tonight, and stay tuned, and Gav's going to be doing his Fatback 4 daily podcast now. So thanks very much everybody for listening, and goodbye.